that have led to the widespread demonstration. He's told the Westbury community today that 15 water tankers will be dispatched to the areas for residents to have access to water while a permanent solution is pending.
There's a lot of work that we must also do in that 7 days. That post the 7 days, there's no interruptions. Because the reality is that the infrastructure, which is the water infrastructure in what they call a commando system or something, has been badly affected and badly damaged, and it requires refurbishment.
One of the residents addressed the mayor in response.
To the mayor, with these promises and solutions you've given us, are you prepared, are you and your MMC prepared to resign if you don't meet your commitment?
He is now on his way to give feedback to the community members who are protesting in Westbury. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News, Westbury.
And lawyers for notorious criminal Thabo Bester have asked the Pretoria High Court not to allow the broadcast of a documentary which they claim paints him as a monster. Bester and his accomplice Dr. Nandi Pamakutumana approached the Pretoria High Court with an urgent bid to interdict the airing of the Netflix production Beauty and the Bester. They've argued that it infringes on their right to a fair trial and should only be aired after the trial is completed. The pair is accused of staging Bester's escape from the Mangaung prison in 2023 where he was serving a life sentence. Homosamudisa has more.
Thabo Bester's lawyer, advocate Muafrika Maila, has argued that Netflix docu-series Beauty and the Bester seeks to defame him and create the impression that he's guilty of the prison escape that he's accused of. He says this may infringe on his right to a fair trial.
Even if the judges are independent, but the witnesses are not independent, witnesses are human beings of emotions.
But arguing on behalf of Netflix, advocate Tembeka Ncukaitobi says the contents of the documentary cannot defame Bester.
It is an impossible argument to run. Thabo Bester is a rapist, was sentenced to life, and he is also a murderer. The fact that the documentary repeats that he is a rapist and a murderer cannot defame him.
Judge Celeste Potro will hand down judgment in the matter at 8:30 tomorrow morning, just half an hour before the production's scheduled release. Khomza Modise, Eyewitness News at the Pretoria High Court.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg dropping to an overnight low of 17 degrees, peaking at 29. Pretoria 17 and 30, Vereeniging 16 and 29. Lerato Hufela, Eyewitness News.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
#MSW.
You may begin to feel anxious or excited.
Honest, deliberate, engaging, uncensored.
High dosage administration can cause adverse reactions.
And most importantly, independent in mind and execution.
This is a normal response. Are you ready?
Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Great show as always, Darob.
Thank you, Mr. Marawa. Good show as always.
Great show as always. Thanks.
Great show as always.
Great show as always, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful show, Robert. Thank you so much. It always gives me pleasure to speak to someone who's got such an insight.
I love the introduction.
Hey, what a show, Marawa.
Now through the middle in Kota. Can he get it square? Own goal. Trusteko has put the ball in the back of the net for South Africa.
Hey, Marawa. Afana against Nigeria. Gone those days where Nigeria used to bulldoze our boys on the pitch. Things have changed now. So I can't wait for that Zimbabwe game where we'll be celebrating.
I think it's safe for South Africans to start budgeting for their tickets to the World Cup.
Rob, Hugo Bros. I guess I'm Tony Chilwin. I'm a fire fan as a country. Lumkulu usilethi isithunzi madod. Yena ngumkhulu askipha ehlazweni. Siyabonga mkhulu Hugo. Siyabonga Hugo Bros. Thank you. Alala.
Hey, it says there must be a crowdfunding, R5 each from the whole of South Africa, just to say thank you to Hugo Bruce. We're joined by one of Africa's sharpest football minds, journalist, broadcaster, Osasu Obayuwana. But were you impressed by anything from a Nigerian perspective?
Nigerians even talk about it like we lost. It's a draw, it ended in a draw, but for Nigerians, they feel that we lost because we needed to win.
Yeah.
You have better stadia, and I don't think, even Hugo Bruce complained about how atrocious the pitch.
So I agree with you. Coach admitted.
Yeah, the pitch, I think Monday there was a Nigerian journalist asked me a question, and it was like we did it on purpose to play on such a bad pitch. Believe me, I was here 14 days ago, and I don't want to repeat what I said to the people from this pitch. We also need a good pitch to play football.
Robert Marawa, live on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW.
All right, edging closer and closer to another busy weekend. Looking forward to it. It's a great show ahead. You don't want to miss it for your life. It is Marawa Sports Worldwide. Proudly brought to you by Hollywood Bets.
Let's go! The moments you remember. The games you can't forget. Marawa Sports Worldwide on 947, Vuma FM and Rise FM. Powered by Hollywood Bets.
All right, before we get into the numbers game, well, one story that hasn't avoided the headlines, and you can understand why not. It's almost like a storm of scrutiny. A legacy club under the spotlight. They're talking here of 74 charges, agent payments. They talk of third-party dealings. And also a timeline that kind of stretches from 2009 to 2022. And with the heart of the controversy, deep down into it, it's a pulsating stage of 2010 to 2016. So if you go back in time, that's the Roman Abramovich era. And I'm talking about the Chelsea Football Club. Is this the beginning of a seismic reckoning in English football? Could the Blues face fines or transfer bans or even points deduction? And what does this mean, though, for the future of what we and everybody else calls financial transparency in the sport that we love? And joining us now is a man who's been tracking every twist and turn of the story. If you follow Ben Jacobs, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. A renowned sports journalist and commentator with exclusive insight into the FA's investigation. That's Chelsea's self-reporting and also the ripple effects, you'd imagine, across the Premier League. Ben Jacobs, sports journalist all the way in the United Kingdom. Good evening and welcome to the show. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening.
I know I haven't spoken to you in a while, and I think we're all focusing on the return back to league action across the world. But when we hear something of 74 charges around the world, we all pause and we take a deep dive into looking at what's happened here. How would you summarize what's just happened?
Yeah, it's difficult to summarise, but in very basic terms, Chelsea have been charged by the English Football Association for 74 breaches of agent regulation rules. And specifically, these are historical charges under Roman Abramovich, most of them between 2010 and 2016, some of them going all the way up to 2022, but crucially, before the current owners Clearlake Bowley came in. Now, what has happened is in the due diligence process for the current owners, Clearlake Bowley, they realised that there were issues and they self-declared them to three different entities, the FA and the Premier League, who are both still investigating, and UEFA, who have already agreed a financial settlement with Chelsea. These are effectively off-the-book agent payments, therefore presenting Chelsea's accounts more favourably for several transfers, including, for example, Samuel Eto'o, Willian, and also Eden Hazard. So Chelsea's perspective now is they've alerted the authorities to these breaches, and as a consequence, even though a sporting sanction such as a points deduction or a transfer ban is within the power of the FA and the Premier League, and these are two separate investigations, I should stress, but Chelsea feel more likely will be a financial settlement similar to the one that they've already agreed with UEFA, which was a 10 million euros fine. So it feels like a big thing. It feels like a lot of charges. But because Chelsea have been transparent and they have cooperated, the feeling within the club is that of optimism that the end punishment here will be financial and not sporting.
Is that the big difference here, Ben? And I love how you've broken it down for us here. Is the fact that they were able to declare, bring it forward to the authorities, does that make it different to what we saw with the Man City charges?
I think so. I mean, the key difference is the Manchester City 115, or more accurately, closer to 130 charges, is the current regime. So there hasn't necessarily been the same level of cooperation or transparency because, in fairness to Manchester City, the ownership vociferously deny any guilt. And obviously the Premier League are trying to bring charges. So there is more acrimony, professionally speaking, that the independent panel will ultimately have to take into account before determining what their ruling is. In this instance, you're talking about a super speed sale because Roman Abramovich was sanctioned. And before Clearlake Bowley, the current owners, even signed on the dotted line, they realised in the due diligence, which is the period when you yourself as a prospective new owner are looking through the books, that there were certain discrepancies or breaches or issues. So naturally coming into the club, they were aware from day one that this may be a problem. And as a consequence, what they did is set aside around £100 million from the sale price. So originally, they'd agreed with Roman Abramovich £2.5 billion. It got reduced by £100 million, and that money has been set aside to deal with all of these issues, predominantly in terms of legal costs. So Chelsea, as their statement said, have had an unprecedented level of transparency and cooperation. They're not saying they deny these issues or discrepancies. The opposite. They've actually directly alerted the Premier League, FA and UEFA to them. And because we have a precedent where UEFA have finished their investigation and it has only resulted in a financial fine, the hope within Chelsea is that the FA and the Premier League will follow suit. The other thing that's worth noting is that Chelsea have hired an external and independent accounting firm to look at the financial landscape that they inherited and effectively determine independently if these discrepancies have caused any sporting advantage. And Chelsea feel that there has been no sporting gain. And if they are accurate and correct in that belief, then with no sporting gain, it becomes less likely that there will be a sporting sanction.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important point, though, because as you talk about that, Ben, I'm just thinking what a successful season they had last season, including the FIFA Club World Cup. And now what does it do for them reputationally? Or is all that we have spoken up until now enough to really retain that reputation that they've had up until now?
Well, I think the reputation now is of new ownership. And as soon as the new ownership realised that there was an issue, they opened up their books and were very transparent about it. And none of these charges relate to a period when Clearlake Bowley have been in charge of the club. So I suppose you can look at it as an ambitious ownership group that wanted to buy the club, agreed a price. And then as they completed their due diligence, they realised that there were these historical issues that they would have to inherit. So at that point, you've got a choice to make. You can either say it's untenable after the due diligence because we're going to inherit a whole lot of problems that might lead to punishments, fines, reputational damage, as you allude to. And as a consequence, you have the ability during that due diligence, because they hadn't signed anything, to walk away. Or, as happened, the ownership said, let's raise these and flag them. And I think that will work in Chelsea's advantage, because if they didn't flag them, then maybe we wouldn't be where we are now. But they chose to be very open and transparent about it. And when punishments are determined, there are always mitigating circumstances that can reduce the severity of a punishment. And Chelsea's hope, as was with the case with UEFA already, is because they're the ones that actually alerted everybody to these issues, it will result in a more lenient punishment. And now we have to let the process run its course to see whether that is indeed the case.
All right, chatting to Ben Jacobs, United Kingdom, all the way in the UK, sports journalist and commentator, regarding what has been, grabbing the headlines for the past, couple of days or so, 48 hours to be exact. I think when the story did break, everybody was trying to see and trying to figure out what is the sanction? Is this going to have any effect on the success of Chelsea and the kind of direction that they have moving forward right now? But what happens next now, Ben? I think procedurally, how does the FA move forward from here?
So Chelsea have got until the 19th of September to answer. My understanding is that answer, even if more information is provided, will not be any denial because, again, Chelsea flagged these issues in the first place. Then the process will run its course and you have various options. The first is a speedy resolution in the form of a fine or a settlement. And there wouldn't be much difference between a fine and a settlement. So a fine would be the FA determining the charges warrant X amount of money and Chelsea accepting it. A settlement might be more of a mediation or negotiation to come to a final number, but fine or settlement will ultimately end up with the parties in the same place. It's just if you choose to settle, there might be more of a back and forth over what the exact terms of the settlement are, and in doing so, exactly what is shared and what each party can or cannot say. Then at the other extreme, if the FA and Chelsea are not on the same page, you could get a scenario where this case drags on and takes a little bit longer and results in Chelsea having to make a defence. And this is where their belief that there's been no sporting gain could come into play. But my understanding at this stage is that Chelsea are expecting a fine. They are, of course, highly respectful of the process, and they're certainly not jumping ahead of that. But it's likely that September the 19th will pass and Chelsea will acknowledge the charges, will wait for the punishment, and will be working on the premise that they won't get a sporting sanction. And if that's the case, it will resolve itself very quickly. If it's not the case, and they get hit with a sporting sanction, then you're in territory where an independent panel has to decide the ins and outs of the punishment. Chelsea may choose to present their evidence and even appeal if they don't like the decision. And that's the kind of scenario more like Man City that could drag on for months, even potentially in excess of a year. And it is, of course, more complicated because it may be that Abramovich or those close to him have to input because Chelsea's owners may not have all of the answers. So I think Chelsea feel like there can be a quick resolution. And as I said before, it will be a financial and not a sporting punishment. But if they're surprised and it doesn't go down that route, at the other extreme, this could be quite a costly and time-consuming process.
Right, as a chat to Ben, I see a lot of you are responding. Let's take a listen.
Good evening, Mr. Marawa, and to the Marawa faithful. We are, midweek, we're getting there. Rob, always great show. Closer to the weekend now. I would just like to, not ask something, but say it that we had Man City with 100 and how many charges they were penalized, and everyone went on what's going to happen to City. They're going to lose titles. And then it was said, no, it will be moved to next year, the case, and they'll solve it. And there's still no articles of Man City. The last one was them and the Premier League agreed on certain charges. So the Chelsea one, is actually something going to happen, or we're going to have same saga with Man City where it's a slap on the wrist type of incident that nothing major happens very quickly. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do. And whatever they do with Chelsea will then bring up Man City's case. So yeah, it's going to still be a long while, this one. So let's see how it turns out. Thank you, Rob. Great show as always. Cheers, Lynn.
Cheers, Lynn. Thank you so much indeed. Just providing the context of the Man City case, and I think Ben did explain that pretty well. Ben, I'm just looking at time here. I'm going to squeeze in one last question, and it's going to do with something we didn't have as we come out of the international window. As South Africa, we were playing against Nigeria. There was no VAR in that World Cup qualifier. And maybe just a quick reaction from your side with you having caught up with Pierluigi Collina at the summit that was held, and you spoke to him about the evolution of VAR. What was his comment? Does he feel that it's on the right trajectory?
Yeah, I think he does. And there's sort of two aspects here. One is VAR, which is now rolled out in over 65 countries. And I think it's how the other technology evolves around VAR that's going to be key to its functionality. So Collina very much feels that you start with this base of VAR, you still empower the referee in the middle, and then what trappings can actually improve the efficiency and speed of VAR and thus decision making, and also how can it become more of a fan experience, because a lot of fans in the stadium see their team celebrate with them, have to put the brakes on, wait, don't always know what's going on. So not just VAR, but in-stadium announcements, referee going to the monitor and you seeing it on your television feed, referees, as we now see in the Premier League, announcing decisions in stadium to kind of add drama to the game, and semi-automated offside technology, which obviously allows decisions to be made quicker, specifically relating to offside. And then you don't see the final impact. So if everyone stops, you don't know whether your player would or wouldn't have scored, so it becomes less of a talking point. And as with Taiwo Awonji's horrible injury last season, you avoid players continuing the action if they are offside, and that can save time and also prevent injuries as well. So we gave a fascinating overview on that. But then the second aspect is something that is called video support. And this is different to VAR. And it's intended for countries that either can't afford VAR or don't have a consistency of stadiums to implement VAR, or lower leagues in different countries that want something but can't go all in on VAR. And football video support, to give it its full name, is essentially a more manual version where there is a monitor pitch side by each manager. And in each half, they can twirl their finger and make a coach's challenge, and the referee comes and reviews an incident. It's kind of like the NBA, when a coach makes a challenge and then the on-court crew go over, they put the headset on, they look at the video footage. It doesn't give you every angle. It's not as comprehensive as VAR, but it's the kind of thing that you could roll out in lower leagues and thousands of countries all around the world when maybe VAR isn't as feasible. So I think that was really interesting to me, because it shows that it doesn't have to be VAR or nothing. VAR itself can be complemented by other smaller aspects of technology, not just to improve the decision making and the speed, but the in-stadium experience for fans. And then if you can't afford VAR, or you lower down the pyramid, there's still a technology that FIFA roll out that's available to you. So that chat with Kalina can be found via the YouTube page for World Football Summit, which was in Hong Kong, and a link is also on my social feed via @JacobsBen.
Yeah, I was going to say you got to follow at Jacobs Ben, because an amazing job, Ben, that you continue to do. Sports broadcaster, senior football correspondent at Gimme Sport, Premier League commentator at TalkSport Live, and also a Leicester City fan. Hey, Vardy gone to Italy.
Unfortunately, for my sins.
Well, you won the League One, so that is one thing to celebrate. Ben, thank you so much, as always.
Let's hope we can get back up. Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Very in-depth. And as you heard there, maybe that's an option as far as not having VAR is concerned. What are your thoughts about that? Video assistance with the coach's challenge that comes up. Maybe, the Brains Trust that's coming up next. Might even give your opinions.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. #MSW.
You give your business everything. So why not give it better business banking? Give it Lula, South Africa's first business-only banking suite. We won't keep you on hold forever and a working day. And it won't take 5 transfers to get you answers. When you choose unlimited business banking, our dedicated relationship bankers are always ready to help. Visit lula.co.za and experience business class banking and funding today. Powered by Access Bank. T's and C's apply.
1 year ago, a new name hit South African roads. Jator. 12 months later, we're one of SA's fastest growing brands, and it's just the beginning. This September, we invite you to celebrate with us. Buy a Jator at your nearest dealership and receive mystery gifts, from phones and tablets to watches, earbuds, and exclusive Jator apparel. Test drive a Jator today and discover why South Africa has fallen in love with Jator. Jator, drive your future.
It's season 2, and the stakes are even higher. South Africa's favorite stars are back at the briefcase, playing for charities close to home and close to the heart. Big names, big hearts, big deals, all made possible by Lotto Star. Don't miss Deal or No Deal Celebrity South Africa, Saturdays at 6 p.m. on SABC1.
Lotto Stars, licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18s. National Responsible Gambling Program. 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
It's that time of the year. Sneezing, itchy, watery eyes, blocked noses and coughs. It's time to live, work, play and sleep allergy-free. For trusted relief for you and your family this allergy season, ask your pharmacist for the Adcock Ingram OTC Allergy Survival Pack. With products like Allergex Non-Drowsy, Cetisid, Levogex, and more, we have you covered. Remember, Adcock Ingram OTC. And visit beprepared365.co.za.
Hip hip hooray! It's Hirsch's massive birthday sale from the 26th of August to the 23rd of September. We have incredible deals on your favorite TVs, appliances, beds and more. Save a whopping 10,000 Rand when you purchase a Hisense French door fridge for 29,999 or get a Hisense 55-inch QLED TV for 7,999. These and other amazing birthday deals available in-store online at Hirsch's.co.za. Hirsch's, we will save you money.
One festival, endless flavor, and two unforgettable days of timeless
We're
music.
joined by one of
The
Africa's
DSTV
sharpest
delicious
football minds,
international
journalist,
food and music
broadcaster,
festival
Sasu
powered by Lotto Star
Obayuwana.
returns on
We're gonna
20
break down
and 21
what this
September
means,
at
though,
Kyalami
for
Grand
the
Prix
Giants.
Circuit. On
And I'm not
Saturday,
saying
the stage erupts with
Nigeria
Don
are.
Tolliver,
How was
Questa,
Bloemfontein?
and
I
Nkabi
haven't been
Zesri.
treated in
Then
South
on
Africa
Sunday,
ever since I
experience the
started
legendary
coming here.
Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Lyra, and more. The DSTV Delicious Festival powered by Lotto Star. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
We're joined by one of Africa's sharpest football minds, journalist, broadcaster, Sasu Obayuwana. What do you make of the South African-born president of CAF, his journey up until now?
Obviously, on the business side, he's a very successful businessman. He understands numbers. He understands business.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the football governance side. I don't understand certain things going on because Mosepe is a lawyer. He worked as a lawyer before he became a businessman. The General Secretary of CAF is also a lawyer, Swiss lawyer. From the first time they were elected in 21, when they named the 5 vice presidents of CAF, do you know that there were no such positions known to the statutes of CAF? That was illegal, what they did. But because the General Assembly, most of the FA presidents, they are so frightened, none of them can even talk.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW.
Good evening, Miss Marawa. Good evening to the shareholders of this wonderful show. Miss Marawa, what is happening at Chelsea? What was happening at Chelsea and what happened at Man City is not fair to the other EPL clubs. Look, Chelsea have won so many titles when they were getting players using these methods which are not open and transparent. Now, if they get a fine, that means football will never be a fair game. We really expect some kind of punishment where titles can be taken away, like what happened to Juventus back, I can't remember the actual year, when they were demoted to Division 4. It's not fair, really. All the other clubs that were in the EPL trying to compete fairly were disadvantaged by these shenanigans which Chelsea and Man City were partaking in. Marawa, it's bad. Thank you, Ms. Marawa. Edgar from Pulugwan.
Edgar, thank you so much indeed. Really treasure what you're saying, but I think Ben Jacobs broke it down very nicely for us. Talk about breaking down. I mean, we're going to go beyond the scoreboard tonight. We're going to go beyond the goals, beyond the glory. We're going to head into the engine room of the beautiful game. I mean, where does the data come from? A lot of you have been asking this question. And I think the last time when we spoke to Opta Jabu, people went on social media and said, please, let's have another session. Let's have a more educational session. We said, guys, listen, these are busy human beings. If they're around, yeah, we'll have them in the studio. And that's why today we're going to find out, I mean, who decodes the numbers that shape our understanding of football? And what does, the last 5 years of PSL trends reveal about the evolution of South African football? I mean, joining me in studio are two titans of sports intelligence, Alex Rathke, as well as the man himself, Opta Jabu. But let me break it down as far as Alex is concerned. I mean, he's a sports data engineer from Latuma Analytics, the architect behind the algorithms, as well as Opta Jabu, the maestro of metrics. Now, the analyst who turns the stats into stories, sitting right in front of me. And together, we're going to try and lift the veil on the data revolution. And that's all you hear these days. People quote the numbers. They say, I chose as a coach to field so-and-so in the starting lineup because that's what the data tells us. What does the data tell us? Gentlemen, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rob. Yes, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah. Welcome, finally, Alex. Hey, you didn't get lost.
No, not this time.
Not this time. You got the location right. So the data was right as far as that is concerned. Opta, good to see you.
As well, Rob. Always a pleasure.
I mean, it's difficult to say where do we start, though. But let me start off with you, Alex. Why is it so important in today's sporting world, but obviously we'll narrow it down to football world, that data has become such an important tool?
Rob, it starts really, I mean, you can look at it in a number of different ways. It comes with recruitment, with business, with running a club, scouting, match analysis, contracts, advertising, media. There's a whole it's a circle of life, really, nearly, if you want to look at it that way. A player wants to have the best deal, a club wants to have the best players. So you need the information to make those decisions. And a business does that. So football's also using that to guide their business, because football, in a sense, is also a business.
So then your business at times becomes what I've heard a lot of these days, where before coaches would travel, they'll go overseas, they'll go track down a particular player. But these days they don't. They look at a player that has been mentioned to them, then they go exactly into what you're talking about, which are the stats. They look at the breakdown of it, even before they watch even YouTube clips of them. Would you say in the main, all of those are accurate? Do they paint a correct picture? Or do you find at times, because people have access to the internet, they might claim this or that and give false information? Do you find that gentlemen like yourselves, who are well respected in the area, tend to draw the attention of the professionals more than, let's say, the newcomers who might not have the integrity that you have?
I think it really depends on the coach and the club as well, in that sense, depending on how they operate. It's still somewhat a new area of analysis, data, because a coach sometimes might say he trusts his eyes, or he or she trusts their eyes on a player. They don't need the numbers to make a decision. So there's that part of it, but you want kind of the full context of it. You want to map the statistics or the data to the video, because if we watch a game like on Tuesday night with Nigeria, how much of the game do you actually remember? You probably remember the goals. I
remember the goal that was given, which, as I was saying with Ben, had they been VAR, he probably would have been chalked off.
Yeah, but how many of the big moments, or is it only the big moments that you remember as a fan, as a coach as well?
Yeah.
So you kind of need to marry the two, and it goes back to understanding what you need as a club. Is it the style of play that you play? Does the player fit? How do you recruit? It all kind of comes together.
Right, so it makes sense. Opta, as Mr. Jabu himself, and the many lessons that you've taught us, and I want to just narrow it down to the past 5 seasons within the Premier Soccer League. And I want to look at what patterns have emerged. Would you say that, are we seeing a tactical evolution? Are we seeing a stagnation as far as you're concerned?
I guess, thanks, Rob. Once again, always a pleasure being in studio. I think the first thing to look at overall that people always talk about is goals.
Yeah.
Are we scoring enough goals? It's wide known that there's not enough goals happening in the PSL. So we dug deep to look at, okay, is that actually a fact, or is that just a theory? And the first thing you see with goals is a clear downward trend in terms of goals scored per game in the PSL. So last season, for example, it was a short season because of Royal AM, but you have to even that out by calculating goals per game. Mm-hmm. So on average, we can see that there were less than 2 goals a game last season. It's only the second time in 30 years of PSL history that teams score less than 2 goals a game. So 1.99, just below 2 goals. The year before, you had 2.1 goals per game, and the year before as well. Just after COVID, it was 2.23 goals per game that we had. A much more entertaining affair. So the one thing that is clear with the PSL is that goals have been going down. And as you can see, to go below 2 goals a game is really, it's not satisfactory. And to make matters worse, this season that we're in now, actually already looks worse than last season. Although we're
serious?
just 5 games in,
Yeah.
but at the same stage last season, we had more goals than we have this season. So it could be yet another arrow going down.
But what do we attribute that to? I mean, I see an uptake in terms of the attendance at the stadia this season. Yes, 5 games as it is. But I'm thinking, football fans are enjoying it, or maybe there's just a possibility that somebody is going to come through and topple Mamelodi Sundowns. Whatever the reasons are, I see the excitement in the terraces, but the fact that in terms of quality and finishing in front of goal is poor, do you ever get to a point where you say it is because of X, Y, and Z?
So that's analysis. We have the what already. Goals are going down. Then the next question is, why is it happening? So we started looking at that. Is it because teams are shooting less? A lot of people, they see goals are going down, and immediately we blame the strikers. Hey, when was the last time we had a 10-goal a season, a 20-goal a season striker? When was the last time we had a Mbesuma, a Nomvete, and so forth? So the next question is, well, are these players actually getting the chances to score these goals? What if the issue is not in terms of finishing? What if the issue is in terms of creating? What if chances created has actually gone down? Then we have to investigate and see, well, it's the midfield or the line before the strikers that maybe where the issue is. So we looked at shots, for example. That's where goals come from, obviously. And funny enough, shots are going up per season.
But
so
the accuracy is the problem.
The problem is the accuracy. Shots per season going up with 11 shots per game per team last season. And now we're looking at, let's say 5 seasons ago, it was down at 9 shots per team. So 2 more shots being scored in the last 5 seasons per game. But it's the accuracy that is the problem. We're looking at 50% shot accuracy, excluding blocks, about a season 5 seasons ago, but now down to 42%. So that's where the issue is in terms of finishing. Are the creators creating enough big chances? We picked that up as well. A lot of big chances per game. We are now at 2.8 big chances per game in the PSL, up from 1.8 big chances per game 5 years ago. But at the same time, goals per game is going down. So it's an issue in the box. We believe it's an issue that needs to be addressed in the box.
In the kitchen, as Mark Williams would say. Alex, what do you, again, just adding on what Opta is talking about here, because the consistency in terms of the data growth is one thing, but is it on the positive? I mean, I'm talking about possession, pressing, defensive structure. What are we reading into this? Because coaches will be very disappointed to hear that, which we are supposed to be watching and having fun with. And you say, be like a certain national team that wins 11-1 a couple of days ago, because that's what we want to see. Maybe not a rugby score, but something closer to that. How do you break it down for us, though?
So, from a coach's perspective, you can look at it as Opta just said. Shots are going up. Okay, right. That's the way that maybe certain teams are playing or certain coaches are playing. But then I think maybe one example is very clear last season. You look at Kaizer Chiefs. They had the most shots of any teams last season, but the accuracy wasn't there. And they've gone now heavy into the transfer market to help their team and support their coach and support their strategy. I mean, they signed a number of different strikers already this early window. So they're hoping that if they can continue their creation and their chance ability, that they'll have the accuracy now to convert those chances to goals.
Important question is, because you provide all of these analytics and the data and the stats, and you do it even publicly on social media. Do the coaches approach you? Do they say, guys, listen, we might have that department of our own, but do they approach you? Let's say there are teams in the PSL that don't have the analytics or the specialists in that department. Do they approach you?
Yes.
And that is standard for anybody, any coach within the league itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's if they want an outside opinion or they want a third-party opinion or a more of a statistical or data analysis opinion, we can provide that. We have the information. We can work with the coaches, with the teams, with the departments on how they want to look at the information, how they want to slice it, how they want to dice it. Is there certain questions that they would like to have answered, but they just don't have the time and resources and that to look at it? Because especially this season with AFCON and the World Cup next year, it's going to be such a tight schedule where you're going to play every 3-4 days, and you don't really have the time to do that extra research or that kind of piece of analysis that you would like to, because you're hopping from a post-game to a pre-game to travel to. So yeah, we can provide. We have had coaches and clubs ask us for that, but yeah, it's anybody who wants to can make contact.
Is Chiefs one of them?
I'm not saying.
Hashtag MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. Hashtag MSW.
Hello, nice. Dim the lights and put your phone on Do Not Disturb, because this season is the ultimate pleasure ride. Nandi and Jacob, fatal attraction. Secrets, lies, mystery, and seduction. Now that's the type of guilty pleasure we like. On Fatal Seduction Season 2, now playing on Netflix. Basic plan from 99 Rand a month. T's and C's apply.
Win big with Cell C. Stand a chance to win your share of 10 million Rand in prizes when you sign up, upgrade, or recharge with Cell C. Get 200 gigs for only 299 Rand per month on a 24-month smart data contract. Get this limited offer and stand a chance to win big. Go in store or call 084 145. Valid until 15 September. T's and C's apply. Switch to C. Cell C.
One festival, endless flavor, and 2 unforgettable days of timeless music. The DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star, returns on 20 and 21 September at Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit. On Saturday, the stage erupts with Don Toliver, Questa, and Nkabi Zezwe. Then on Sunday, experience the legendary Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Lyra, and more. The DSTV Delicious Festival, powered by Lotto Star. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
It's not magic. It's our master grillers. Enjoy a pork chop grilled to perfection, juicy force, and delicious buffalo wings or chicken strips, all served with Spur-style crispy onion rings and golden chips for only $159.90. Get the Master Griller combo, only at Spur. People with a taste for life. T's and C's apply.
We don't remember moments for what was said or done. We remember them for how they made us feel. That's the power of presence, of showing up. So when you drive something that shows up too. With LED projector headlights, a panoramic sunroof, a touchscreen to keep your focus forward, and a reverse camera that's always got your back. The Suzuki Grand Vitara isn't just an SUV.
It's a premium experience built for every moment. Visit suzukiauto.co.za to live the grand life.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Right, in case you didn't know, the Lions and Springbok prop, Asanath Ntlabaganye, well, he finds himself at the center of controversy. I mean, he's charged with anti-doping rule violations. We're joined by the Chief Executive Officer of the South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport. There's Khalid Khalant.
Facing or he's looking at a sanction of about 3 years. If he decides to contest the 2 charges and plead not guilty, and then an independent tribunal will adjudicate the matter and decide what the sanction, if there will be a sanction, and it can be anywhere from a warning to 4 years.
All right, so just to get it clear here, Khalid, if he says, yes, I am guilty on both charges, it's 3 years that he'll be sanctioned for.
Correct, yeah. That's really is what we call a letter of acceptance or acceptance of guilt and not contesting.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW.
Well, 15 minutes to go. Hey, it's almost like a first half of extra time. Is that where we're heading off to MTN 8 final? Oh. Hey, but good luck, man. It's good to have local football back again after the international break. And that is why, as we bring in, as I call them, the brainiacs, the smart people in studio today. But should I believe them? I don't even know who collects sort of this data. Opta, where do you guys get this information? Who gets this data and how believable is it?
Very good question, Rob. Who collects the data? I mean, we're talking about how coaches, some are receptive to the data, some are not receptive to data because of trust. Data at the end of the day must be accurate. So I think going back to the source, the most important thing to know is that the PSL actually licenses companies that have the technology and the ability to collect this data to do it on their behalf. Mm-hmm. So there's a bidding process that happens. Companies like StatsPerform, /Opta, StatsBomb, Wiseguard, they have licenses and the permission to send people to games. So you'll find at, let's say the final this weekend, Stellenbosch versus Pirates, there are going to be two people there at the stadium who have technology that they use and software to capture passes, tackles, interceptions, and so forth. So two guys, one will do Pirates, one will do Stellenbosch. And if this Stellenbosch guy says tackle 1, the Pirates guy must say tackle lost for Orlando Pirates at the same time at minute 35 and second 7. So altogether in a game, you're going to get 3,000 to 3,500 events per game that must be captured quickly. And then that's put together with the aid of computer vision as well, and supervisors that look at that and double check and make sure that it's accurate. So there are companies that are licensed to do that. Then they sell the data on to companies like us to analyze and distribute to different platforms as well. So these are international companies. In the future, hopefully we'll have local companies as well. In fact, Opta used to have offices here in South Africa back in the day.
Yes.
That were collecting not just for South Africa, but across the continent as well. So the simple answer is there are companies put out to do that. But it's important to know when you say this player has a 65% pass accuracy, which company is saying that, because different companies will have different definitions when they're now collecting the data. So one company can say that is a pass into the box. Another company will say that's a cross into the box. Ooh. And if you use different sources of data, you can get confused and things won't balance. So it's important for people, whether you go to some app that provides this data or a website that has it, you must know at least where is the data coming from, because you can end up contradicting yourself if you get it from different sources.
Oh. I mean, that's interesting because as you mentioned it, you're a human being. So the two individuals are going to be going to watch Pirates play against Stellenbosch. At some point in their journey in life, they would have been fans. They would have had emotional attachment to one or the other. So how then do you remove yourself, Alex? Here you are, big Pirates fan. You're playing against Stellenbosch. Now, instead of you focusing on the technicalities of the data capturing, you become emotionally involved, and then you lose certain aspects of what you're supposed to be capturing. How do you ensure that that human capital is as accurate as can be?
So, as Opta has mentioned, they are like definitions set, and like they go through a rigorous training process of this is the definition of a shot. When you see this event in a game, you note it down as a shot or a tackle or foul. Now they're very specific. There are a number of different ones, number of different ways of even looking at the definition of it. I might look at it one way, Europe might look at it another way, and a different company will define it differently. But then, so it gets collected live, and then afterwards it gets recollected. So even the number of passes at the end of the game might be X, but the next day it might be Y, because the process gets recollected again, just to make sure that it is as accurate as possible to the definitions that the company has put out. So that also kind of inherently maybe brings a bit of mistrust to some coaches as to what the actual number is. You know, it could be 12 shots, it could be 13 shots.
Because, I mean, also having studied within the fascination of your field, one begins to gather a couple of words and phrases, and maybe that's pretty much what you're touching on now, was the difference for me between raw match data and enriched analytics. Is that what you're really leaning on now, to say that there is that, but it goes into a process now where you enrich those analytics?
Yep. They say single match data is useless.
Yeah.
If you just look at a game and say, oh, team had X possession and whatnot, it's not as valuable as when you now analyze it. That's why beyond that, you have to analyze. It's a bit like if you look at the kitchen, you have potatoes. The raw data is just potatoes. But then the final product after analytics and an analysis process is now your, what's a fancy potato dish? It's your mashed potato that is going to cost you 200 Rand.
Well, you sounded like Steve Combellen.
I hope you understand.
All right, let's take a quick question. I come back to that. Because I see, so much interest growing in terms of the conversation here.
Good evening, Rob, and good evening to your shareholders. Can you reach out Opta Jabu, the statistician, that if Mamelodi Sundowns, Orlando Pirates started with a Sundowns started with a draw, what will be the end of this season? Maybe the Opta Jabu, the statistician, can help us. Thank you.
Oh, they let you out on this one, Alex. Opta?
We'd have to calculate that,
Yeah.
but then it's possible we can get it before the end of the show.
Really? Okay.
Possible.
You got 8 minutes left, boss.
Good evening, Mr. Rob. It's Sulifilang here. Good evening to your guest over there. I have a question for both of them. I mean, since the footballing stance is going towards the direction of, trying to rely as much on the data and the statistics, does the league have some form of collaboration with, a data company just to track, on average, how many fans attend the stadiums, how many goals are scored on average, how many assists, and also, is it, paramount? Is it important for all teams, not just the big three like your Mamelodi Sundowns, Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, but all the other teams and even the teams lower than that to invest in, trying to get the data up just so that they can keep track with the numbers and see where they're faltering and where best they can improve? I want to find those two out from your guests over there. Great show as always. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much indeed. Well, Opta is doing the calculations with time running out. Alex, let me throw that one at you.
So, yeah, I think it is paramount that clubs invest in this because it is the future. And it does help just with running a business. We see so often just squad overhaul at the end of the season. So it's just a way of but there's a huge process of bringing this in because the information is complex. You need people to understand it. You need people to interpret it. You need the kind of expertise of understanding the information and how to apply it. So you can't just buy the information and say we're going to start investing tomorrow. It's like you need to have a process of people who've done it before who understand it. So it's not just easy as just buying the information.
Hi, Mr. Marawa and the team. Hi to your guest. My question to your guest is with regard to the number of saves by our goalkeepers, because as they've already outlined that we have got less number of goals compared to the previous season. Did they compare the number of saves from the previous seasons to the current seasons? Thanks, David in Parkwood.
David, thank you so much indeed. I see your heads nodding in the studio. How do you answer, David?
So, David, what we're presenting today is just snapshots of a full research.
Yeah.
So there's a full 70-page research that's freely available, the first edition, where you'll find beyond the shots. We now look at dribbles, we look at saves, we look at entries into the box, we look at touches in the box, and there's a section that covers goalkeeping. So we'll look at that as well. So in the full research, saves are covered, and we can explore that there.
Let me dive straight into the creativity trends. Are players dribbling more? Are they dribbling more accurately? Because there is a big difference there. So break it down for us, because sometimes people say that the game has lost its soul. We used to watch football and there was more creativity. Alex?
So, yeah, dribbles attempted per game have gone up in the last 5 years. And I think it's reflective of just our culture of football, our creativity, our flair. You have fans coming to the game wanting to see a one-on-one take-on or a player attempting to take on down the wing and then cross the ball in. And I think you're also then seeing that success rate. So I think it's kind of just part of our kind of culture, and looking at the individual development, it's, again, how does the team want to play? Are they looking at that as an importance of their playing style? Maybe not, some are.
And because you guys are talking about facts here, nobody needs to feel insulted. Because one of the key things that I noted, I'm going to ask you, I mean, which players have strategically or statistically even outperformed expectations, and which ones have under-delivered despite all the hype around them? Are we able to get to that level?
We are. I would then throw the question back at you, Rob, and say, what metric are you looking at expectation-wise? Because we can look at shots, we can look at creativity, we can look at creating threat. So, like, there's a number of different metrics we can look at.
So let's say, for example, I saw an apology coming through on social media from Orbit apologizing to Saleng for comments made by the coach to say this and that. It was a long thing.
Yeah.
So basically withdrawing the words and the expectations from the fans. So top player, we all know what he can do, what he can deliver, goes to another club, and there's a feeling that all the hype around him really not delivering much. So something similar to that, because there's hype around somebody, but then delivery becomes almost next to nothing.
Yeah. So, hey, Rob, you have to, before you say someone over-delivered or under-delivered, you have to ask, what was the expectation in the first place? I mean, you look at something like expected goals that we use often. Players have 10 expected goals, but then end up scoring 4 goals. So that's an underperformance. So before the season starts, coach, team, agent would have to sit together and say, okay, this is our expectation of you, is to score 10 goals in a season. And then we look at, okay, he didn't score 10 goals, but what is the value of chances that he received? Is the problem on his finishing, or is the problem on the receiving of good chances for themselves? So it really depends on the objectives that are set at the beginning of the season that we would have to know before analyzing to look at underachieving or
So I am squeezing you. I want you to overachieve with this answer. There is an MTN 8 final this weekend, Stellenbosch Orlando Pirates. So given everything that is available, all the tools that you have, who's likely to lift the trophy?
You want to go first?
I can. So, I mean, Pirates will want to win it again. They're defending champions. So I would say maybe the favor is in Pirates' hand. Maybe Opta disagrees with me on that.
Opta?
I would disagree. I would say, so Pirates have done very well. 3 finals, 1 in a row. 4 has never been done before. They'd have to do something that hasn't been done in 50 years. Possible, but we will see. Most importantly, Stellies, they have, the MTN 8 is their competition as well.
Yes.
They've played 11 games in the MTN 8. They score in every single game in the MTN 8 that they've played. It's the best scoring run in PSL history of a team at the beginning of their time participating in the competition. So one thing guaranteed, I would say high percent Stellenbosch scoring, and then Pirates would have to come back, whether they're coming back or it's a goal later on, is going to be, we'll have to wait and see.
Stevie B is worried about the referee. He still has flashbacks of last season. So, that is something that neither of you, myself, anybody else can play a role in. Were you able to make that quick calculation?
Yes, we did.
What is that feedback?
So 3 times that this has happened, Sundowns drawing the first game and Pirates losing the first game. And the outcome at the end of the season, 1999-2000, Sundowns won the title. 2014-15, Chiefs won the title. And then 2015-16, Sundowns won the title. So 67% of the time it's the Sundowns title. 33% of the time the title goes to Naturena.
Orlando Pirates are touted as being potential favorites this season.
No team has ever won the title having lost their first 2 games of the season.
Guys, when are you coming back? We need you back. This is heating up at the wrong time. Up to Alex. You know what? Thank you, guys. Thank you so much indeed. That's just a little strike for the beginning of the season, guys. I promise to bring them back again. Sports data engineer from Laduma Analytics, Alex Rathke with me. as well as you know, Opta Jabu, sports data analyst. You can go on the social media platforms. You'll find them there. I really find it fascinating, and I hope that tonight has been fascinating as well for you who has been listening. Gentlemen, see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hold you down to those, I won't say predictions, but yeah. There's some people jumping with joy here. We'll catch you again tomorrow, guys. Marawa Sports Worldwide, proudly brought to you by Hollywood Bets.
The thrill, the drama, the action. Play the game again. Marawa Sports Worldwide on 947, Vuma FM and Rise FM. Powered by Hollywood Bets. #MSW. Live now on 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. At the same time.